about our institution and about you as a guiding light for all of us. And sir, once again, I must reiterate that with the guidance and inspiration of Madam Principal, our research center is also working very well. And our honors and PG students are also into writing research papers, a few of them. And ma'am has always been laying a lot of emphasis on student research projects, and that is gradually building up also. Ma'am?
Yes, yes, yes. So, is it time for me to address?
Yes, ma'am, we look forward to your blessings.
Okay, there was a gap actually. Okay, thank you, Nina. Thank you for your kind words. Professor Dilip Barad, our guest speaker for today, Mrs. Nina Sharma, Head of Postgraduate Department of English, faculty members, and dear participants. Today we are meeting for the valedictory session of the workshop on research methodology, which is another valuable initiative of our Postgraduate Department of English. I congratulate and extend my heartfelt gratitude to the organizing team, as the event has been very well organized and well attended. Most importantly, it has empowered our young women with research skills and enhanced their aptitude for meaningful research. Today's session on research publications, guidelines for the beginners, is a befitting conclusion to the program, as the primary purpose of all research is to disseminate knowledge and to use it for the benefit of society and humanity. India is fast emerging as a knowledge economy. Therefore, NEP 2020 also lays emphasis on research and publications so that the young scholars are initiated in sharing their ideas and findings. I'm sure that today's session will broaden the horizons of our budding researchers. They will get an idea about the growing publishing industry and the way they can make conscious choices and avoid predatory publishing houses. I convey my best wishes to the participants in this scholarly journey. Once again, I express my gratitude to the organizing team, and we are all beholden to our guest speaker today, who has spared his valuable time for us to share his knowledge and wisdom with the participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And we begin the session today. Professor Dilip, shall we begin?
Yes, yeah, I'm ready. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so a very good morning to everybody, all the participants also. We have around 70 participants. That's a very good number of research scholars, students, master students who have joined this program. I hope you might have enjoyed the entire week of this research, 3 days in the first phase and later on the last 3 days also. Well, so today, coming directly to the point, I am here to share some views regarding publication things, that how for beginners, like how we look at the very idea of research publication. So looking at the point that we have master students and who are at a very initial phase of their research writing or understanding the research, and as it is suggested here also that up till undergraduate level, we are not exposed a lot to the research writing, but in the masters now, as it is mandatorily requested or asked by UGC guidelines also, that all the postgraduate students should be doing some kinds of research writing, dissertation writing. So it is becoming now necessary for all the students, and maybe within 2 years, it may be difficult for everybody to master research writing or dissertation writing. So keeping that in mind, that we deal with the beginners so far as research paper writing is concerned, I would like to talk about a few points here. Let me share my presentation slide here. I'm sharing a screen. Okay. I hope my things will be visible to everybody. Okay. Yeah, is it visible on the other side? Is my slides visible?
No, this is our opening slide, which is visible, sir.
PowerPoint slide? Yeah.
Just a minute. Yes, it's visible now.
Now it's visible, and I'm
Yes.
playing slide. Yeah, is it full screen now?
No, it's not. Now it is.
Now it is. Okay, I'm just checking out the things. Okay. Okay, so I would like to talk about this in 3 points. Research publication guidelines for beginners. First is research paper writing. Second is reading the research paper in seminar conferences or sending it for peer review. And third step is publishing it as a research article. So the very first phase in publishing a research article or research paper is writing a research paper. And for that, what we need is we have to look for the topic or area in which we want to work. We have to first decide upon the research area and the research topic also. And so when we sit down to write this research paper, how do we identify research area? How do we identify our research area and then deciding on a research topic? Now for this, for identifying a research area and to work on this point of deciding on a topic, I would like to have a small activity among the participants, among the students who have joined. So in the chat, I am sending a link. In a chat, I am sharing a link, and I would request the participants to give something in that. I will give the guidelines what you are supposed to do. I am sharing a link here in the chat. Okay, I have shared a link in the chat, and that is about menti.com. Yes, menti.com. Okay. Are you able to come to that screen? Just let me know if you are able to come to the screen.
Yes, sir, it's visible, Mentimeter and the questions on how to go about for research.
Okay. So you have to like select something there. Yeah, okay, I'm getting the responses now. Okay, fine. Yes, yeah, that is what we want. Yeah, okay. Yes, please keep on giving your responses. Yeah? And I am sharing a screen where we will see collectively the responses that we have received. Yes, I request all the participants to visit this link that is given in the chat. Or else, if in case you have disconnected and reconnected, then you might not be able to see previous chats. Then go to menti.com, menti.com. You can see on this screen also, and give a code. The code is 18378109. That is the code there. Okay. And then just select the research area in which you are planning to write your first research paper. Okay, so we are seeing 10 participants so far. Here 10 participants we are seeing that they have given their responses, and we see that right now film studies is very popular, then cultural studies, then post-colonial studies, then environmental studies, CLI-5. Yeah. Please, yeah, I request all the participants. We have a good number of participants, around 70 there. And so let us see that at least 50% of you are active in giving your response here. Okay. It is 80-90%. It is well and good. But still 17 now. 17 of you have given the responses. Yeah, yeah. Please, we are waiting for a few more minutes for the other participants to join. Let me again, remind that those who were a little bit lethargic in listening, we know that normally the limitations of online sessions are that people are not very alert right from the beginning. They slowly and steadily get alert, or there are multitasking going on in and around us. There is lots of work there. So it is not always very easy to concentrate on online sessions. But well, still, so 22 now, good number, it is increasing. A reminder that in case you have not seen the chat, in the chat I have given a link where you have to give your response. But in case you have missed the chat, then go to menti.com, menti.com, and use the code 18378109, and then this slide will come and you have to give the response there. Okay. Yeah, 25 responses we have received so far. Yes, okay, so let us wait for a minute more to see if any other students are responding. Yeah, okay, since it is stable at 26 participants, I hope right now are giving the responses. Yeah, thanks for reposting the link also. Yes, okay, we are getting more responses still. Okay. Okay, so this is still open. By the time I make some comments on this, you can still keep on giving your responses if you're not given so far. 27 responses we have received so far. Film studies remains at the top. That is what we see here as a general area in which this group of students are interested. Cultural studies is at the second position, feminism at the third position, then modernism, postmodernism, posthumanism, or comparative translation studies. These are some of the areas. Like ELT is at the bottom. Digital humanities is at the second last at the bottom side. Popular literature also is third last, or scientific fiction or popular literature. Academic literature is also quite at the bottom, we see there. Okay, environmental studies is somewhere in between post-colonial and this. Okay. Well, very interestingly, we see that in which research areas our students are interested, and this is a very good marker for even teachers like us. Like we also need to know that which research areas are attracting the learners. And if we concentrate on that, then we may get a better result also. Or some areas which are still not in the imagination of students, we need to like talk about those things. That these are very genuine areas of research. The research should be done in this area. Why? We can justify, so that students who are not aware about those research areas can become aware also. So, for example, film studies are a very popular area of research, but we know that because we are dealing with literature, which is written by words and not made by camera, it becomes very difficult for us to do film studies properly if we don't know some of the theories of film studies. And one of the basic questions that may come that, are films in your syllabus or text in your syllabus? And we know that most of the times we have text in our syllabus and we watch film to support our understanding of the text. If we have a separate paper on film studies, and if there are especially the film as a text, it is a very good idea, and it opens up the new dynamics of reading film or film as a text, not text which is supported by a film. So film studies are a good area. People are interested. We need to talk about the technicalities of film studies when we think of writing this. One of the major error or some of the mistakes which normally the research students make when they study films or when they do film study is that they apply literary theories which are meant for a text, that is a literary text, that is a language-based text, words-based text, on the films. And we know that films is not only about words. There are dialogues, but what is more important for the films is camera and sound. This two medium plays a very vital role in narrating a story. So if we are not aware about understanding the language of camera and the language of sound, background score in the film, and what is the effect of that, how it helps or supports the narration or gives a meaning to the narration, then we may fail. And you will see that whenever you will try to review thesis on film studies, you will find that people have applied literary theories on cinema. Rarely they talk about the language of camera and the language of sound there. So that is one gray area where we need to concentrate if our students are interested in film studies. If I come down to the bottom, ELT, maybe in this department, ELT is not maybe a top priority. So maybe most of the students have not selected ELT. In some of the departments, ELT is a top priority and more students go for that. Now, ELT, English language teaching, is also a very important area because most of the students who are on the other side of the screen, most of you might become teachers either at the school level or at a college level. But somewhere, like most of the departments, arts department, language departments, their output by and large, more than 50-60%. If we see their job profiles, we find that they are becoming teachers. And when you become a teacher in school or in a college, if it is not an arts college, then you will be dealing with language rather than literature. You will not be teaching literature as such, but you might be supposed to teach language. You might be the teacher of language, not of literature. Your prime job must be there to enhance the language skills of the students, not the literary sensibilities. There are very few numbers of arts colleges which are growing. There are very few arts departments in universities. There are more job opportunities and chances to work as a teacher of English language than of English literature. And so, looking at this idea, more and more students should be inspired to work into this area of English language teaching also. Well, so this is, but well, this we come to know that so far 29 responses we received, and this is what we see here as our response outcome in research area that we have seen here. Okay, so once we decide, first of all, research area in which I want to write. Now, the second point, very important point that comes is deciding on a topic. Now, what can we do to decide a topic? What kind of questions we need to ask ourselves to decide on a topic? Again, I would request students to fill in this form very quickly. I am sharing a link in the chat. In the chat, I am posting a link. Yeah, and yeah, here is the link. I request all the students to open the link and type in some very quick answers, whatever comes in your mind. These questions are somewhere you need to think a little bit more. Maybe right now you may not be able to think something more on this, but I take it as granted that in this, this is the 6th day of this workshop. So you might have thought something, depending upon the activities which might have gone in the previous days in this workshop, or as a routine practice of what you are doing as your master's studies. So I request you to feed in some detail, whatever comes in your mind. Don't worry, we are not going to pass or fail you, or we are not going to make any kind of adverse comment also on what you have given. We understand that we asked you immediately to give your response, and so possibly your response might not have a very good value, or we can say very qualitative response might not be there. That is quite well understood by us. Okay, so this is these are the few questions which are asked there. Okay, deciding on a research topic, depending upon what Owens has mentioned in this book, planning, writing, and presenting a dissertation or a thesis. From this book, we have taken this. This is a very interesting handbook to literary research. So this is at the very outset, a very important point is to decide on a topic. We know that students occasionally find it difficult to make up their minds what it is they want to investigate. If you feel momentarily that you can't decide what might interest you, you could try making a list of things that you would like to learn more about. Once you have a list of up to 5 or 6 things, you should take some time to read around each of them a bit, trying to think not only which seems most enticing and likely to hold your interest, but which of them your previous study has best equipped you to pursue. Your previous studies has best equipped you to pursue some areas. By reading around, I do not mean reading aimlessly or in a desultory fashion. On the contrary, you should be reading quickly and purposefully, with questions in your mind, scanning material that seems potentially relevant to your areas of interest and getting an overview of it. So what kind of questions should be in your mind when you do this? Like, for example, 4 questions we are putting here. What are some of the key studies in this field? What are some of the key studies in this field? What kinds of approaches have been taken to this subject? What are the key issues and questions in this field? And are there any possible gaps or approaches to be explored? Think of these questions for a while. Whatever comes in your mind, like 1 sentence, 2 sentences, 3 sentences, just type in here. And then finally, type the topic of the research paper you plan to write in near future, whatever is in your mind. Let it be very rough draft of your topic also. Type in something in this context there. Okay, we are waiting for your responses here to see how you give the things. It is a very quick response we are expecting. I think many of you might be a little bit baffled to think that what can you give right now? So immediately, no need to worry. You can just chirp in anything that you are not getting any idea right now. You need to think in this direction, or you have not thought in this direction. Anything like whatever you think of, that also you can put in the details there. Okay, so I hope you are going, and in case you have any doubt or in understanding this, you can put a comment also, or you can unmute your mic and you can ask me a question also while like thinking of these questions. If you have something in your mind which you want to clarify, then you can unmute and ask me, or you can put a question in the chat also, whatever is convenient to you. Yeah, okay, any questions? Then you can, or is it okay? Then I hope you might be typing something. Don't go for very detailed answers. Very quickly, whatever comes in your mind here. So what are some of the key studies in this field? Yes, thank you for the comment. Yeah, you may get some crystal. You can crystallize your ideas if you look at this here. And any problem do you face? Like how do you identify? Like question may come in your mind that how do I come to know where are the key studies or how do I come to know about it? That also can be the question to many of you. Okay, we got one response so far. One response. Yeah, Devanshi has given the response. Okay. Yeah, thank you. One response so far we have received. Okay, fine. Yeah. Even whatever Devanshi has given, it seems she is quite clear about the direction of the research in which she is trying to move on. Yeah. Okay. Okay, let us wait for the other responses. One or two more responses we may get. Yeah, in case like those who are very beginner, and if you are facing some problem, then let me suggest you might have referred to a book by M.H. Abrahams, A Glossary of Literary Terms. And yes, thank you for this comment also. If you have any queries, you can put it in the chat box also. I was talking about M.H. Abrahams, A Glossary of Literary Terms, which you might have referred. So when you think of which are the works being done in your research area, then also the books like A Glossary of Literary Terms can be useful. After defining a term in that book, M.H. Abraham, in the last paragraph, mentions all the key works being done regarding that particular topic. And so, reading that part can be very useful to the beginners to see that who else has substantially talked about this, or who are the seminal writers or seminal books in this area, which a researcher is supposed to read before writing a paper and thinking of publications, which will also help them a lot in doing a literature review also. The literature review also will be incomplete without this. Yeah. So that way, that book, that is for a beginner, this one idea that how you can find the areas which are there, seminal works, seminal books which are required, seminal writers which are required to look at the work also. Okay. We have received 2 more responses here. The second is Arushi and Yotasha. Arushi and Yotasha has given their responses. Okay. Okay. I'm just going through your responses. Okay. Okay, fine. Okay, fine, interesting. I'll come to that point also. Okay, so our concern that we are talking about is, first is this key works being studied in this particular field, seminal work, seminal writers. What kinds of approaches have been taken to this subject so far? That particular topic, how has it been seen by other people? That becomes very important. That will really make a very substantial part of our literature review. Yeah? What kinds of approaches have been taken to the subject? That becomes very important. We'll come to some of the examples of this later on also. What are the key issues and questions in the field? What are the key concerns? So that will allow us to think of the question or problem statement. Yes, problem statement. When we'll try to answer this question number 3, what are the key issues and questions in the field? We will perhaps lead to this idea about what is there which is not explored so far. What is there which is so problematic? What is that is something accepted generally by the people? But what is generally accepted by the people as one or the other truths or facts, is it fair enough? Is it like, can it be provable that what people believe is true, or these are mere assumptions that can also be explored? And are there any possible gaps or approaches yet to be explored? Something that people have not seen so far. that can become very significant part to be seen also when we see these areas of research there. As a beginning point, by the time some of you might be writing, or if you are just listening and not doing the activity, you just can keep this in your mind. Later on also you can do this activity when you sit down to write them. But as a point of the beginning point, I would like to say that when people were reading, for example, Renaissance literature, even today, Renaissance literature is explored a lot with new dimensions. So the traditional reading of Renaissance literature, say for example, Shakespearean tragedies, if they were read in a particular way, there was one approach, a traditional approach, which was explored, and what the writer wants to say, that is what was at the center of looking at those things. In 20th century, which many times we call it as the century of theories, every decade we got a new way of looking at literature, and lots of theories emerged in 20th century. Till then, the water was much silent. People were looking at the aesthetic sense of literature, or the aestheticity of literature, and character study, thematic study, social society in literature, which in Victorian time, which was explored a lot. Moral and philosophical approach, which was right at the center, right from the days of Plato, which was already there. But 20th century gave, as from the beginning, that is psychological analysis, to the feminist approach, to post-colonial studies, to film studies, different narratologies, which are found in there, structuralist, post-structuralist, modernity, post-modernity, and so many things which came up. And later on, we come to know about globalization, ecological studies, and now digital age and digital humanities and other things also. But if we go back to the Renaissance literature or Shakespearean tragedies, and we find, for example, that when we apply new approaches, we find that earlier it was not seen. People were aware about the text, but when we apply a new approach, we find it gives a new findings. It helps us in substantiating what we think as some knowledge, or we get a new insight into reading a particular text. So if these things are clear in our mind, then it becomes easy for us to write a research paper also. That either I am reading an old ancient text, but I know that my application of an approach or a theory is going to give a new finding. It will give us a new way of looking at that literary text. That can be one area for writing a research paper. Another is also this, that that text was never seen as such, and now this application is giving a new insight into that literary text, literary writer also. For example, when people try to read, when post-colonialism became very significant part of reading, suddenly a new meaning was explored in The Tempest by William Shakespeare. And so then people investigated that Shakespeare just told the story of Prospero, which was already known to everybody. It was not a new story, it was a non-story, and he told. But what was added by Shakespeare? What was the interpolation or addition into that story? And that was that when Prospero and Miranda, the father and the daughter, are estranged on a lonely island, there was somebody already there. That was Caliban. Caliban was there. Now, this was improvisation by Shakespeare. It was not in the original story. In the original story, the island was empty island, but here there was somebody. Now, this somebody who was staying there, the Caliban, the one who don't know the language, the one who is not civilized, that played a very vital role in post-colonial analysis. And so, whenever the new settlement, the new colony is established, there is already somebody. And that somebody is supposed to be Caliban, an uncivilized person who is supposed to be civilized. And then we get a template of questioning the colonial narration. Without this template, the reading of colonial narration becomes impossible for us also. So that's why how an old text can become a very interesting key in understanding the new dynamics. That becomes very significant part also in this. So, and then Amy Caesar wrote A Tempest. Then what comes is retelling comes in that, retelling with new ideas. So Amy Caesar's A Tempest, not The Tempest, A Tempest. And wherein Caliban comes at the center. And with the centrality of Caliban, now that story is told again. So retelling, reading retellings which are written with an influence of a theory, which are influenced by the new theories, that becomes very interesting. That again opens up a new dynamics for reading at the things also then. Okay. We have received 3 responses so far, and I hope the others might be working, but not be able to work out on the things also there. The 3 responses that we have received so far, let me share a screen to just have an overview of the things that are given. Very interesting topics are there. So rhetoric design, first one, linguistic and structural analysis. Then awareness about Bollywood film, that is the film studies area, and narratology is the third area in which people you are planning to work on. One is interdisciplinary or comparative. Then sociological approach and postmodernist or moralist approach is what one wants to see. So these are also interesting idea that how this is being done in the work of art also there. Okay, so video gaming also wants to be explored, interactive nature of the things also, or in a cinema, how anti-Hindu propaganda or mockery of Hinduism is being explored in this there. So, okay, so the general topic that you try to think of is understanding rhetoric design in Indian writing in English, post-independence. Okay, that's fine. Bollywood and anti-Hinduism propaganda. And third one is a study of the extent of free will as observed in open world video games. Okay, yeah, fine. Very interesting areas which you are planning to explore there. Okay, okay, well, fine. So we hope the other students who are who might be keeping these questions in the mind and keep on exploring the things in a later phase also. Let me come back to my slides. I'm sharing a screen again. Yeah, okay, let me share a screen. Okay, so the first thing about writing a research paper is about identifying research area, okay? And then deciding on a topic for a research paper. Some simple 4 questions can also help us in working on this. And then we see problem statement or question to be answered. And then we do literature review about all these things, and methods and methodology, that is theoretical framework that is required for that. Critical analysis and interpretation and conclusion. This is how we can design or think of our research paper. Also, these activities we have already done. So I'm skipping this part. This Mentimeter activity we have done. This deciding on a research activity also we have done. This. Coming to this point of method and methodology is very important to be kept in mind here. Okay? So we need to strike at methodology when we sit down to write a paper. The difference between these two, method is the technique employed by the researcher to frame questions, collect and organize data. Thus, method refers to the actual field work, questionnaires, databases, identifying sources. Now, when we say field work here, if you are exploring a kind of research work which doesn't require a survey, then visiting library, exploring so many books, visiting websites, journals, magazines, online journals, catalogs, and doing a work also is a field work. So to look at the idea of field work in a broader sense. Most of our literary works, which are library-based works, which may not require people to do survey. So our field work is of a different nature. Methodology, which is very important point here, refers to the political position and the interpretive strategies used by the researcher. This refers to the epistemological approach and concern the philosophical political approach of a researcher, where he or she scrutinizes his or her own location. Methodology is the critical approach used to interpret the data that is collected here. Okay? So now when methodology becomes very important to decide where am I standing? And from wherever I am standing, I'm going to see the things from that perspective. And so if there are politically more sensible topics, then the position needs to be verified a lot. Then only our conclusion will be fair enough. Otherwise, our conclusions can be just supporting what is popularly supported by the people. It may not be having much deeper critical insight that it can stand for a longer years also, that it can stand for a much longer years. It can be just fashionable for a while, but then because it was just answering something that is the demand of the time, political positioning demand of the time, then perhaps our conclusion can be standing strong only for a while, and then it will be lost with the change of the power. Michel Foucault's idea about power and knowledge plays a very vital role in this. We are attracted to read something which is giving us a popular gain, because that is how the knowledge construction happens. The people in the power, the ideas in the power, they are always there to support the knowledge systems. The true research is always there to critically question this idea about what is or who is in the power and what kind of knowledge systems are being supported by that power dynamics. That becomes a very critical insight to identify the methodology that people are looking at, the epistemological approach that requires very important to be seen or questioned here also. Here is one example that is given here, that for example, if you are studying representation of women in popular Hindi cinema, the first step of method is to organize the questions to be asked. The decision about the people, you prepare some questions, whether you want to do interviews of some of the people, then you can ask people, and then you can work out the thing. What we have seen is this, that when people study, like film studies, literary studies, people do not involve the society by and large. So if I'm, for example, this is an example of film studies also, but if I'm just talking about a literary text, will I go and ask some people who has read that literary text and conduct a questionnaire? Rarely, or I have not come across such a kind of a thing as such also. The problem is that we can't find people who might have read literature a lot. The way we can easily find the people who might have seen the film, it is very difficult to find the people who might have read the literary text. But well, that can be one of the interesting points to see, that if we can ask people about what they understand after reading a work of art, then it becomes very interesting research, very relevant research for our time, for our people also. Methodology which will help us identify our ideology. Either it is a Marxist or a feminist, or any way that it works for that. Our own experiences about that particular thing, and interpreting the data that is collected based on our assumptions. Our assumptions may be very wrong also. When we interpret the data which we have collected by applying some of the things, then we may come in a better way about this also. Some of the examples of the research articles which we can see here, and we can question, like when we enter into that article, what kind of questions we need to ask when we see. Let me share this research paper to see here. Okay, let me open one or two research articles. Yeah. Let me go to this point of film studies. So this example we can use here. This is this article is I think my page is visible. I'm sharing a screen of an article, or need I share again?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Visible. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. This is an article on Harold Pinter's play, The Birthday Party. And it is trying to look at the film and the play, written by Harriet Deer and Irving Deer. Now, what is so interesting of this article? The very beginning line, the first line of this article, tells something very significant here. So this article, Harriet and Irving Deer, they say that Pinter wrote both the play and the film of the birthday party. Unlike some playwrights who write film adaptations of their own work with little knowledge of the film medium, he is an accomplished writer in both drama and film. Now, this makes a very interesting observation. Now, this writer, Harriet and Irving Deer, they are aware that Harold Pinter is also a writer of film. He's a screenplay writer also. Now, this is outside information. So when I do a review around a text, I should know a bit about around the writer also, that what else the writer is doing. That will help me in positioning myself in a better way. Otherwise, I will not be able to position myself in a better way. So if the writer is writing a film also and also a play, he is well aware about both the mediums. And so his writing a film will be very significant. And then to make an argument that the very structure, the sense and structure and the texture of the absurd play, The Birthday Party, is very well captured in a cinema also. If I want to make this statement, then this foundation statement is very, very necessary. This observation that Pinter is very good in understanding the medium of cinema. So what I will be writing further in my research paper, that how Pinter has used sound and camera to bring the effect of absurdity. Without that, it will be very difficult for me to make those arguments, unless Pinter is well versed in that. So whenever he is putting a camera in a particular position, as a commentator or as a writer, I can connect that, well, he is bringing here an effect of absurdity. We know Pinteresque means something like silences, the use of silences, or pose, Pinter pose, or the knocking sound. Now, how all this knocking sound, the Pinter pose, how that all will be brought in by camera, that is what I have to discuss. And the sound also will be there. So whether the texture of the play, texture of absurdity is brought in cinema or not, that becomes very significant. But this observation that Pinter is an accomplished writer of both drama and the film, and so this thing becomes very significant. That becomes very important to be seen here also. Second article, if I quickly observe, I'm just giving highlights of the things. Yeah, this is one coming from about Virginia Woolf, To the Lighthouse. I hope it is visible. Yes, second article, which I am showing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's visible.
Yeah, the mythic patterns into the lighthouse. Mythic patterns. And Joseph Blotner is writing this article. And now it is very difficult because To the Lighthouse do not directly refer to mythology. And so it is very difficult to identify a mythical pattern in this. So what Joseph Blotner is doing here, initially, right in the second paragraph, he says that, well, I want to read a Greek myth in this. I want to read the myth of Demeter, Persephone, in this figure of Mrs. Ramsay and Lily Briscoe. But then there is a problem because there is no textual evidence of this. In absence of textual evidence, when you are trying to read something, you need to clarify some doubts. So these lines in this articles are very significant. In using myth as an approach to a work of literature, the critic can make one of two assertions. So see, this writer, Joseph Blotner, is trying to clarify his position, that I still have a problem, that how can I apply this directly? So first is two assertions. First, the artist knowingly used myth as a basis of his creation. First is that artist, that is here Virginia Woolf. Virginia Woolf knew about the myth, and knowingly Virginia Woolf is applying the myth into this work of art. That one needs to prove. And for that, I need to prove whether Virginia Woolf is aware about this myth or not. Now, for that, I will have to go to the Virginia Woolf's diary also, or some evidence, some letters written by Virginia Woolf, some diary notes taken by Virginia Woolf, where she is writing that she read about the myth, she is aware about all these myths, and so knowingly she might be applying that. So again, I have to go outside to the lighthouse in the life of her author, and I have to again look into the diaries and letters of that person, or some interviews of the person, to know that, well, he is aware about it. Now, in that case, if I will not find a substantial evidence, then second proposition comes here. That is, all unaware, he used it, it welled up out of the subconscious layer of his psyche, where it resided as forgotten material, as an archetypal pattern or a fragment of the collective or racial unconscious. So that is where Carl Jung, a psychologist, Carl Jung, has said that there is psychic residue. And Northrop Frye has used Carl Jung's psychological position to prove that archetypal patterns are there, and all unaware, we are referring to the myth. We are not aware about it, but as a psychic residue, they are standing there. So in this article, Joseph Blattner is clarifying this point and says that when I want to read a mythical pattern in writer, one, I have to identify whether the writer is aware. Second, if writer is not aware, I will go to Carl Jung, Northrop Frye, and prove that all unaware the writing has come into the thing, because it is possible, as per the psychological finding of Carl Jung, that a psychic residue of mythical patterns may be present among all the writers, and so that might come there. Now, see, these are very interesting dynamics of methodology when we apply or sit down to write a research paper, and then we do our interpretations. Once we have taken our position very clearly in our writing, it becomes very easy to move on and to do our analysis and our interpretations also there. One book which I would suggest the new beginners to think of applying these various theoretical propositions or various methods and trying to find a new approach. And that book is, let me share a screen again of my presentation and come to that. Yeah. The book which I would suggest to all of you is this, for a beginners, a handbook of critical approaches to literature. Yes, a handbook of critical approaches to literature. This book will help a lot at this phase of analysis and interpretation. Once you have decided on your position as a which methodology you are going to apply, which theoretical framework you are going to apply, when you want to do interpretation and you want to reach to a new interpretations, this book has taken has selected a few texts, like in tragedy, in play they have taken Hamlet, in a poem they have taken To His Coy Mistress as a poem, as a novel they have taken Frankenstein, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. So that way, a play, a novel, a short poem, similar text they have taken, and various approaches they have applied on similar text. Now, this is very important for us to understand. So we come to know that when you apply various approaches on similar text, we actually come to know how to do analysis, how to frame a theory around it, or how to establish a theoretical framework, and then what kind of interpretations are to be done. So for understanding of that, this book is very, very useful to our research scholars also. So that way we are writing a paper. That was the first part of looking at the thing, that is writing a research paper. Then second phase is reading in a seminar or conferences or sending for a peer review. I would very strongly recommend to all the beginners to always read a paper in seminar or conferences before sending it for publications. If seminar conferences are not organized or you are not able to find it during your studies, then see that even within your classroom, there is a kind of a seminar or conferences. There is an event of paper reading organized quite occasionally as a part of studies. And therein, all the students are reading their papers as a part of this. Questions should be a necessary part of those readings of papers. At least a few questions necessarily to be asked to the reader. And then chairperson's remarks. Both these things are to be taken into consideration by the student. Questions asked by the audience and remarks made by chairperson. And then incorporate all those questions and the remarks into your paper before sending it for publication. Now, this step is a very important step. For me, this is a very crucial step for beginners to move towards paper publications. Never ever publish or send a paper for publication before reading it in at least in a smaller group and facing some questions based on that. So this step will give a very strong holding of what you are trying to prove. What are your problem statement and what are the solutions? What are the interpretations you are giving to your paper there? So this is there. As a part of various studies, normally at the PG studies, there are paper presentations and other things. Make it a point that you can make your presentation of your paper in all those small gatherings also. And then coming to publishing it as research paper. Final stage is publishing it as a research paper. So publishing your research is an important step in your academic career. We all know that. While there isn't a one-size-fits-all approach, this guide, what we are going to refer here, is designed to take you through the typical steps in publishing a research paper. Discover how you get your paper published, from choosing the right journal and understanding what a peer-reviewed article is, to responding to reviewers and navigating the production process. And for this final part, I would rely on what is suggested by Taylor and Francis. Taylor and Francis, a step-by-step guide to getting published by Taylor and Francis is what I have cited here. And that is what we will explore in coming 5 minutes, very quickly there. And as the link will be given to everybody, you all can explore this time and again. You need to refer to this time and again. Just by going through it once will not help us in publishing a research article. But this is very important here. There are 5 steps given here by Taylor and Francis to support this. And we need to explore this one by one. So let us go to the website. Let us go to their website and try to explore this. Okay, I hope I have opened the website, and is it visible to everybody, the website?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's visible.
Okay, yeah, okay, fine. I will just take 5 to 7 more minutes, and then if there are any questions, we'll take the questions also. So how to publish your research? After reviewing several journals write-ups, journal and articles write-ups, referring to Web of Science or even this UGC care list or Scopus cataloging, I have found that what Taylor and Francis is recommending here is one of the best qualities that I have found here. So I am recommending this to everybody, a step-by-step guide for this. So choosing a journal, this is a very important step. Now, we know that normally we go by whatever local journals are available for publications. That is fine. As a beginner, if you are doing that, that is okay. But otherwise, there is a very interesting guidelines which is suggested by Taylor and Francis to find the journal and how one can choose. So which area you want to write? There are area-specific journals. And you should know that in your area, this is the topmost journal. And someday you will publish your article in this journal. As a beginner, you should know which is the best journal in the area in which you want to write or explore in future as a PhD research work or as a research project. You should know. At the beginner, you may not be able to publish in those journals, but that should be one of the dreams that one day I will publish my article in this. So that way it can help us. But even before we start as a beginner, we need to select a journal. So choosing a journal, when you are on this page, and when you will click on this page, it will again take you to how you can select a journal before you start and other things. There are several ebooks given here which can be freely downloaded to find this, how you built up the things there. Now, when you want to choose a journal, you have to explore various articles. And we know that all these articles are very costly articles. And unless there are institutional access given to these articles, it is very difficult for individuals to explore this. And for this, because this is also understood, they are very costly. Another thing, Taylor and Francis has come up with a very interesting idea of STAR. And this STAR is supporting emerging articles or writers in emerging regions. I recommend everybody to register for STAR also, which will allow you to access free of cost quality journal articles. You'll be able to access free of cost to quality journal articles, because when you want to review or when you want to know about the journals, this is a necessary step to read articles. So once you register on this, you will be able to get access to many of the journal articles, and that you will be able to do free of cost. Now, see, I'm already giving you some of the answers which you may get in the future, that how to explore journals, how to explore the articles. It is very difficult to do the things. So here is an answer, that at least there is one platform where you can freely access to high quality articles which are not freely available to the people also there. Along with that, there is very interesting another idea which is suggested here, and this site is for that. Right now you can take a screenshot also, and later on you can access this site, or let me put this in a comment, this link, let me put in a comment, which is a very good link for a beginners. For a beginners, this is a very, very important point to be seen. And this is just a minute. Yeah, okay. This point which I'm sharing here, let me come to the page. Yeah. This is F1000 research. Yeah, this. Now, this is a very interesting for a quick publication or for a beginners. Here we will detail that once you submit your articles, there is a very interesting process here, that they may also ask you that who should review your article, who should review. So you can suggest some of the names of the experts who can review your article, but it is published immediately and it is live reviewed. And then the names of the reviewers are also given, and whatever suggestions are made by the reviewers, it can be edited live also. So once your article is published, it can be reviewed simultaneously also. So this can be a very good idea for beginners, because initially to get published is very difficult, but this can be suggested, and then as an ongoing process, it can be reviewed. You will get your DOI, that is a digital object identifier also for this. So this is the first step in looking at this idea, that how you choose a journal and how you publish the things also there. For choosing a journal, they are also given a journal suggester is also given there. This also is a very good idea, journal suggester. So that on this step here, you just have to give your abstract or keywords. Just post your keywords or abstract, and then you will get some suggestions of your journal also. It may not be exactly what you are looking for, but somewhere you get some idea that which journal you can get by just putting the keywords or the topic also here. So the first step which we are looking here is about choosing a journal, identifying a journal for publication. And 2 or 3 ideas we have shared here. One is F1000 research, where you can send and then live reviewing can be done. That is a very good idea for beginners to publish their articles. The another is just give your abstract and keywords, and automatically this machine will identify some of the journals which are publishing in that area, and that will help you to reach to that also. Okay? Writing your paper is the second step. We have already seen this, so we are not going again into writing a research paper there. Okay? Making your submissions, how to make the submission. All the journals have their own guidelines. Go through the guidelines, that what they are expecting, what kind of citation they are expecting, what kind of format they are expecting. So when you make your submission, read the guidelines which are expected by the publishers there. Here we can find about what Taylor and Francis is expecting for their things. Then step number 4, navigating the peer review process. This is very, very important thing. Nowadays, we have lots of problems of predatory journals. Predatory journal is a huge problem nowadays. And so what becomes necessary for a new beginners in this is that you should not fall in the trap of predatory journals or paid journals. How can we identify that? We can identify that by knowing the process of peer review. If the peer review process is very substantial, very strong, blind reviews are done, then that journal might be practicing fair way of publishing the things. And then we can rely on that. If you are sending something for publication, this can be one of the markers to identify. If you are sending something for publication and your articles are published without any questions by editors or without any questions from the reviewer, then that is unreliable. There should be some questions from the reviewers. And when you answer some of the questions and then it is getting published, then it is more reliable. So what is the peer review process needs to be navigated, and you have to satisfy the needs of peer review processes there. You need to understand peer review process also. Normally it is a blind review. Taylor and Francis has given comprehensive guide to understanding peer review. All the beginners should study this so that we understand that there is a strong peer review process, and only a stronger peer review process will give quality to the journal and to our articles also. Then the production process, how the article is getting published and what is the process, that also we should see, and they are giving it in a very interesting way how it is published and what we are supposed to do. Keeping a track of the article progress and how things are going on there. So this is the final part where if any things are required, sometimes we have put some images and other things in that article. So as a part of a process of that, it may not be getting settled on very well. So some question answers, some keeps on coming, that how figure numbers are given, how image numbers are given. That is the production process of this also there. So this is how we can think of the process of publishing a paper, or how we can go through this thing. The last site which I have referred to, and very quickly we have overviewed this site. The link I am giving again in this comment by Taylor and Francis. Guidelines is a very important guidelines for everybody to refer to. Even though you are not publishing in Taylor and Francis, this will help you in identifying the journal wherever you are publishing is of a good quality or not, or whether the journal follows good practice or not. As a beginner, you should learn what is fair practice in publishing the research papers also there. So I hope I have made some useful points for the beginners, for the students, and I hope this all things will be useful to you in becoming a very good qualitative research scholars in future. Thank you to the college authorities and the head of the departments and all the teachers for giving me this opportunity to have interaction with all of you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your very, very exhaustive session on you have started off with why research and how the students should go about writing their research papers. One thing which I have just got a question from my WhatsApp group of our postgrad students, that UGC care list is perpetually changing. It is a very fluid thing. So how does one ensure that when we have submitted the article for publishing in a journal, and next year we come to know by the time it is time for us to be published, the journal has been thrown out of the UGC care list. So how can one navigate one's way towards that?
Yes, yeah, that's a very interesting and the question which keeps on troubling to many people nowadays. But all the catalogs, like UGC care list is one catalog, the UGC list 1 and 2, they already have included Scopus and Web of Science also as the UGC care list. And in all the cataloging site, this keeps on happening. Any journal which fails to follow the fair practice will be out of the list, whether it is a Scopus list or Web of Science list or UGC care list. That's why understanding this, what we have seen right now, that what are the practices followed by the journal editors is very important. If they are not following those practices, we come to know that even if it is in the list today, tomorrow it will be out of the list. But for a practical concern, when I publish, if it is in the list, I have to take a proof of that on this particular day with screenshot and other thing, it was in the list. So your article will be considered valid article so far as it is in the list. But by the time you have done the process and it is published, if it is out of the list, then you have to also see that it was not following fair practice, and so it is out of list. So your selection of journal was faulty. That's why the very first step that we have seen here is to identify whether the journal is of a good quality or not. Without that, we can't go for publication. So that is a very important step. If it will pass our test that it is of a fair quality, it will not be out of the list. It will not be out of the list.
Thank you so much, sir. And another thing, recently UGC has given a guideline that before completing one's research, as it was mandatory for a young scholar to publish, that has been done away with. So do you think it's a fair thing to do, or how is it going to affect research and publications in times to come?
Yeah, that also is very interesting. We still have to wait for the official circular, though we have received some of the notifications through news media and other things also. Well, my personal experience as a research guide, and this is like, it is both way. It is good and bad also. Good in a sense that it was really helping research scholars in moving towards publication, and it was also helping in their research also when they were presenting a paper in seminar and then going for a publications in a good quality journal. When it was published after peer review, they were getting a good guidelines for their research also. When the good reviewers are reviewing your research paper, you get a very good guideline, and it was enriching thesis also. The research paper was enriching thesis also. So that is a good idea. The second was that because it was compulsory, research scholars were going to any sorts of journals, and we had a business of journal, the predatory journals, and they were earning money like anything, and they were bringing these people into trap. And so it was leading towards unfair practice in a wider way in a society also. I think UGC might have thought of this unfair practices which are mushrooming in our society, and so that the scholars do not get in the trap of this money minting publishers. They might have done away with. It was a very good practice, but somehow we failed to get a good result of that, and so UGC might have thought to do away with it. We can always suggest our student to go for publication, even if it is not compulsory. Go for a good journal, and if it will not be compulsory, we will be doing a good quality work, because it is not mandatory. When things are mandatory, our qualities are compromised also.
That's true. That's true, sir. And sir, could you please tell our scholars about Google Scholar and Vidwan, etc. also?
Yeah, Google Scholar is also a very good idea. When you want to look for a good journal, Google Scholar also is a very handy tool. I showed you about Francis and Taylor, which will again give you result of Francis and Taylor. But if you go to Google Scholar, it is a very good tool to identify quality journals. So to find a good journal, also Google Scholar is good. Then when you want to do review of your paper, Google Scholar will lead you to a quality research papers. So that also is very good. Google Scholar should always be handy. When you are planning to write for a research and you are Googling, don't Google for general search engine, but go for Google Scholar and search. A general search engine will lead you to study material sites. And you should always be careful that you should never cite a study material site when you are writing for research. Always avoid study material sites. These are for assignments, submission. They are not for research writer. But of late, I have seen many a times that students are citing from study material sites. They are to pass the exams. They are not for research writing. So if you want to prepare for exam, if you refer to Wikipedia or Spark Notes or any such study material site, it is okay, because exam is a different thing. But when you write for a research, this should be avoided. Research writing is of a different kind of a writing. See, exams are memory based. So you have to remember something, but research writing is not memory based. Everything is open. It is open internet, open book kind of a writing. You can anytime refer to anything. So when we refer and write, it should be of better quality than memory based things. So this difference is very necessary. Exam writing is a different thing. Preparing for exam is different, and preparing for research writing is a different thing. So search for Google Scholar and reach to qualitative journals and refer to the articles which are published in quality journals for your review and for your support. So Google Scholar is highly recommended for all this purpose.
Thank you, sir. You have answered most of the questions which the students have posted in their WhatsApp group also. I would now invite my dear colleague, Dr. Apra Sharma, to formally propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, Neena ma'am. I extend our warm gratitude to Professor Dilip Barad for his enriching session on research publication guidelines for beginners. Sir, it was indeed a very enlightening session where our budding research scholars learned the nuances of research right from the scratch. The activity wherein the participants were to fill up the forms for identifying the key areas of their interest will go a long way in formulating the research ideas as well. We also learned how application of a theory to a text not only adds fresh insights, but also helps us explore new paradigms about the text, be it questioning the colonial narrative in The Tempest or any similar kind of research which offers new perspectives. Also, sir, thank you for clarifying the ideas of exploring new perspectives by sharing 2 research articles with us. Also, the fact that you suggested that we should read our papers in seminars and conferences so that we may include the questions asked therein by the audience or remarks made by the chairperson is a very, very crucial piece of advice. This will definitely go a long way in substantiating our research. We can refer to various websites, including Taylor and Francis, to explore journals and also learn the steps to publish our research papers. We are indebted to you, sir, for this very, very enriching sessions and to all the distinguished resource persons in the previous sessions. I would now extend our gratitude to respected Principal Ma'am for her blessings and support for this workshop series. I'm also thankful to all the faculty members of the Postgraduate Department of English whose efforts made this workshop a success. A big thanks to Ashish Ji for his support with infographic and related assistance. And of course, a very, very big thanks to our dear participants for their enthusiastic participation.